What's up, everybody? How's it going? It's Tuesday. We're getting tactical once again. It's like it happens every week. That's crazy. This week is a little bit different though, because this week was Warhammer Fest. So we've got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. We can talk about reveals at Warhammer Fest. We can talk about the results of Warhammer Fest. I streamed a little bit of it over on my YouTube channel, or on my Twitch channel. Excuse me. This is the YouTube channel. The Twitch channel is the purple one. I streamed a little bit of it over there. Unfortunately, I was having problems with my computer. I think that I have resolved them. But I do want to give people the little heads up that if we run into some problems today with the stream, don't be too shocked. I had unfortunately, some GPU crashes yesterday, but it's mostly because something about like my casing doesn't seat my GPU right. And so when I go to events and I bring my computer with me, I think it gets jostled and one of the plugs gets loose. Anyway, I just have to take it out and put it back in, basically. That is a lot of extra information that I don't know if I need to give you, but if we do crash today, that would be why. But I think it's fine. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Let's freaking talk some Warhammer. How does that sound? Let's do it. So I'm over here on Warhammer Community. We can talk about some stuff. No, it's not a kill team channel, but the kill team idea is cool. Tell me about the kill team idea. Is that this video? Because I don't know anything about it. I don't know the first thing about kill team. But we can talk. Oh my god, that's so loud. Holy shit. That's loud as fuck. Quiet down. There, my guy. I'm sorry, everybody. Yeah, the small gnomes in the computer that run on the wheel, like to make it run. You know what I mean? They make the fans go by cranking them. This is not a particularly long video. Jesus. Something about Eldar. Okay, well. I don't know if that was as excited as what we wanted to do. Maybe Exodites or Scorpions? Ooh. Some Exodite models would be cool. That is a part of the Eldar super faction that they need to expand more of. I'd love to see them included as more of a fleshed out sort of super faction. Eldar, I feel like, in my opinion, Eldar should really like be able to like hold a candle to Imperium with like the amount of variety within their builds. So like right now you have, Drukhari, Ynnari, Harlequins, Craft Worlds, right? You could expand Corsairs and you could add Exodites. And those, like, there's already, especially in terms of Corsairs, there's already framework for them within the game. And they used to have a faction back in the day. But you could also do the same thing with Exodites. Outcasts are already crossed faction. You could, you have your basic troops basically already squared away, and then we could add some cool animal guys, and that would be pretty sweet. I would love a freaking Exodite Eldar army. I think that would be rad as hell. There's a kill team reveal about a crusade system that had cultists that mutate. I did see the cool Inquisitorial Agent Squad. Is that this one? I bet this is what we're talking about. The new campaign expansion. Okay. All right. And that Agent Squad is cool because it's like real old school where it comes with a ton of bits and then, a set number of bodies, and then you could customize them all yourself. And I think they gave like 2 or 3 different builds for each member of the team in the example photos, which looked sweet.
Long have I hunted the servants of the dark gods, yet my agent shall not rest, not even the darkest shadows.
Who are these guys? Wait, are these new? What is this? Is this like Dark Mechanicum? These are sick! Wait, hold up. Hold your horses. What the fuck are these models?
I'll provide shelter to the traitor and the
Oh, hey, Sisters of Silence.
For those
Do they have a
who
kill team right
follow
now?
me, bring the God Emperor, bring and the heretic.
Who's the people
For
with the
those-
wings over here? Are these new, or is this the Cursed Cultist kit? Oh, yeah, that's just a Cursed Cultist,
Who
actually.
follow me, bring
Just
the
looking at the
God
kit.
Emperor's
the
light
winged guy.
and vengeance with them. God.
Yeah, they look very Lord of the Rings. You're not wrong. Those are cool as fuck. Very cool. A narrative campaign in a box. Yeah, these models are sweet. Hopefully we see... I mean, it's good Acolyte fodder for 40k, right? Oh, yeah, here they are. The Hidden Canker. Gross. I hate cankers. I hate having cankers. I like the sword guys. I don't know if I love the rest of them. This guy is like real body horror. This guy on the edge here. Where's my illustrator? Oh my god. I'm so bad at this. Real body horror energy on that dude. His head is like separated from his body. Or he has somebody else's head on a... like in a cogitator thing. Ooh. Ugh. It's kind of weird. Comparatively, like this guy has like a head stapled onto him. This lady has like a literal Zinch horror on a standard. This guy has like 7 arms, and then these guys are just like normal people. The juxtaposition's a little funny. Kind of wish they all looked like those guys, to be honest. That's cool though. Yeah, I like that. Again, more Inquisitorial Acolyte fodder, though. You get this kit, you have enough 10-point Acolytes for however many Imperium armies you want. I've been seeing a lot of those pop up. You see, like, Knights lists taking them now. There's, like, Marine lists taking them. Those little 10-point Acolytes are everywhere. You can take any Imperial agent in the Inquisition squad. Oh, cool. Wow, all right. I mean, that's most of the Imperial agents are kill teams, right? So, like, you can take Breachers or Arbites or any of that stuff, right? That's a lot of optionality. Jeez. All right. Well, that's cool. If you didn't catch it, chat. I did do videos on the Space Marine faction focus article today. I don't know if we want to talk about that too much because I talked about most of it in the videos. I did one on Gilliman and all of the faction abilities, and then I did one on all the vehicles. Something I didn't mention is like some of the flavor stuff where they talk about how a lot of the heavier units are going up in toughness, which is cool, I guess. But for the most part, it's a lot of information that we kind of already knew. Justin hasn't played 40k since 7th edition, but the 10th edition teasers has gotten you back in? Hell yeah, dude. Welcome back. Yeah, the 10th edition teasers actually seem sweet. It's like... it's such a roller coaster ride. Some of the new combat mechanics seem really bad. I don't know how well combat's going to work. There's been a lot of rumors from Warhammer Fest, which I guess is a good sort of segue. Some of the things that people have been talking about based on the demos were that there were revisions to charges and how combat works. Specifically that charges or engagement range has moved back to being base to base, and that chaining engagement is now within base contact. So if you're in base contact with an enemy, friendlies within base contact of you can attack that enemy. So that sort of dramatically reduces the power level of multi-model melee units, and then also charges would have to be conducted in a straight line, so you can't charge around corners. I take that with a pretty hefty grain of salt because those mechanics seem super duper bad for melee stuff. That would make melee very difficult to play consistently in 10th edition. But so that was like kind of, that's kind of whatever. Little worried that mechanics like that might show up. But on the flip side, I think the mechanics that they're showing off for the different factions are really cool. Combat doctrines being a once per game ability instead of this like weird overarching mechanic that you have to select through is really awkward. Gilliman having like all of these optional mechanics is really cool. So, and then also like the only in Death does duty end. If detachment stratagems are this power level, then stratagems are going to be huge. They're going to be this enormous, like, faction-defining thing. And you'll use less of them over the course of the game, but they'll probably have more impact. Giving everything in Space Marines fight on death is fucking wild. There are a lot of Space Marine units that are dangerous in melee, but because they're so ponderous, it's hard for them to alpha strike you. So you hit them first. But now if they just fight on death every time, oh my god, it's going to be disgusting. So crazy. Any Chaos Demons news? Not as far as I can tell. But what has been discussed by the design team is that they're going to be doing faction focuses every weekday, moving on into the future. And talking especially, at least about the codexes that are coming up shortly, I guess. So for the next couple of days, we'll probably get faction focuses on different things. I think Tyranids are tomorrow, they said. So I may be live tomorrow talking about a Tyranid article if they have anything to talk about, which would be cool. So that'll be cool. Do I think the Neurotyrant is going to replace or sunset the Neurothrope? Honestly, I kind of do. I would be surprised. I don't know. I don't know if I want to say I would be surprised if Neurothropes like stick around, but it does feel like Neurothropes would be an easy one on the chopping block if they're adding another independent Psyker unit in there. And I have to imagine that there's going to be some like sort of sideline characters, character types that get that end up getting axed if we start to see these like sort of random characters that are built out of an existing kit. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see those go the way of the Dodo. Here's the Neurotyrant. We'll find this guy. Here he is. So, like, this is, a Zoanthrope character, I think, to the nines, right? He's got a lot more going on than the regular Zoanthropes, whereas the Neurothrope is just a Zoanthrope with a spike on its head, and that's a little bit boring. So I would... I think I would expect to see maybe Neurothropes become... you could see them as, like, more of a Zoanthrope attachment, potentially. Could even be that, like, Neurothropes become, like, unit champions for Zoanthropes or something. And the Neurotyrant takes over their role. But it does... the article, if I remember correctly, does describe the Neurotyrant as a support caster. And if that's the case, that's basically what Neurothropes are currently. I would be surprised if we didn't see that. If we didn't see that, sort of at least subsume the role. I'm just noticing here. He's got like little brains on the side here. That's kind of weird. It almost looks like he can detach more of these, but I guess they look a little bit different. Neurotyrant's rad, though. This model looks amazing. Looks like a Grell from D&D. What is a Grell? I don't know what that is. Oh, this little guy. What's up, buddy? Oh, he's kind of cute. I can see it. He's got kind of a beak going on. This is like real Zinch energy. Because it's a bird. Also, they like wield knives with their tentacles. That's pretty wild. Alright. Yeah, I can see that. For sure. Worried about witch cults if fallback shoot is everywhere? Well, witch cults also... have a lot of fallback prevention kind of as part of their faction identity. So I would be surprised if there weren't a lot of just like full stop you can't fall back from me abilities. Like it might even be a stratagem, right? Where when an enemy unit engagement range is chosen to fall back 1 CP, they can't fall back or something. Plus also like witches no retreat ability might just like become less of a dice roll, might just get locked in. I don't know. There's a lot to unpack there. But that's why I'm excited for these faction focus articles, because right now the big question, we have a lot of the mechanics of 9th edition. There's still some big open questions about core mechanics, but the thing that we've have confirmation that for the most part a lot of the core mechanics are the same, which means that the biggest thing we don't know is faction rules. And because every single datasheet in the game's getting rewritten, how they look is going to be hugely transformative. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see if the melee rules are have been rumored are correct, though. I think melee, I don't know, melee seems tough, but I don't want to prognosticate too hard on stuff that's rumored. All right, anything else we want to talk about Warhammer Fest reveals, chat? Otherwise, we can dive into some lists real quick. I'm pretty excited about the Warhammer Old World stuff is pretty cool. Getting new character models, I think that's pretty sweet. Beyond Lord of the Rings SBG, Warhammer Fantasy was my first miniatures game. So, and I did have a Bretonnian army at one point when I was a kid. And by army, I mean like a unit of Knights of the Realm and some peasants, I think. But I have a bit of a soft spot for Bretonnians, so having like a Bretonnian model be released is kind of insanely cool. And then lots of Age of Sigmar stuff. I might do a video sometime in the not too distant future while we're in this kind of limbo state, talking about like less crunchy 9th edition stuff, and I might talk about some Age of Sigmar models that translate over to 40k well. I don't know if these are exactly one. You could use these as like Rough Riders, maybe. But I don't know if they're perfect. They need spears for that. They need big lances. They look great, though. So many super cool models. The Plastic Knight. Yeah, that's cool. It's, I guess, not knowing what the Cerastus are going to do is going to be interesting. It'll be I wonder if they'll roll it into the proper codex in 10th edition. What do you think, chat? If they have a plastic one, they're like billing it as a 30k release though, which is so weird, right? Because it's just also a 40k unit. I remember these haven't been very meta in 40k for a really long time, but I remember in 8th edition, Knight lists like started with a Cerastus Lancer, because you would full tilt it and it would throw out like 27 inches or something insane. If it had long land strider, and it would go in ridiculous distance, and you could charge the enemy deployment zone on the top of one like easily. But we'll have to see what they do in 10s for sure. But it is a little bit strange that it is kind of billed as this 30k unit. I don't know if that's if like it's a Forge World thing that is like a legacy Knight chassis that was always a 30k adjacent thing that they like then ported over to 40k at one point. But it's strange that it wouldn't just be a 40k unit. Yeah, maybe it's to draw attention to 30k. I hope it goes in the codex, though. I want more of that Forge World stuff to get like actual codex support. Honestly, they should be in the codex right now anyway. You get into these weird situations where you get these like hella outdated data sheets where the design team, like they went through this whole rigmarole when the Imperial Armor Compendium in 9th edition came out, where they were like, guys, it's under the purview of the design team. We're gonna design data sheets in line with the codexes, and then they just never did any of that. they released one set of datasheets that were pretty good and then never updated them again outside of changing keywords. But the keyword changes, like they would forget about them. I remember Eldari dropped and it took like 3 full months for Eldari datasheets in IAC to get their faction keywords. It was insane. And I just want that to stop, please. Either squat Forge World for use in 40k or put it in the codexes. Pick one. You can't do this middle road thing. Kind of ridiculous. Now, are knights a faction in 30k? I'm sure somebody in chat could tell me. I don't know anything about 30k, but can you play Imperial Knights in them? Is it exciting that they would get a 30k knight kit because they don't have any other access to Imperial Knights? I guess there's also the reveal for 30k that they might be getting an epic adaptation too. They are an army? Okay. Well, interesting. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Can they take the 40k, like, knight chassis? I assume so, right? I don't think knights have changed in between 30k and 40k. It doesn't seem to me like knight warsuits get redesigned very often. Given that that is the purview, generally how the 40k universe works. All right. I think that's good for the Warhammer Fest reveals. I don't know if there's anything else too excited that we need to cover that we haven't already talked about on the channel. So I think we're going to go ahead and drop into some lists. List time. We go back and do the good old classic Tactical Tuesday content and talk about some army lists. Now, obviously, the big headliner for they use Questores and Armigers. Oh, they don't use Dominus class? Huh. Okay. Well, fair enough, I guess. So, the big headliner, obviously, for the weekend was the Warhammer Fest GT. It was 450 players, by far the biggest event of the weekend, and obviously one of the biggest ones in the world, and it was super highly publicized. It was streamed over on the Warhammer Twitch channel, so if you want to go watch the coverage, you can go watch it over there. I streamed a little bit of the semi-finals and finals, but again, I had a crash on Monday, so unfortunately I couldn't stream the rest of it, which is too bad because it looked like the finals were actually insane. Halfway through the game, so the finals was between Innes Wilson and True, David Gaylard. And it looked like True had the game on lock. There was one push that Innes could do. If he flipped it objective, he could have made like a 5-point swing. And by the end of the game, he ended up winning by 3. And I imagine that that's what happened, was that he was able to push and get that late game swing, which... I'll probably, like, congratulations to him. It looks like, I thought True had it protected correctly, but he had a command squad, like, get up and body block a lot of the Iron Hand's movement, and then he had sort of ringed his objective with models. He had a ton of Tempestus Scions to, like, screen it out, but it might have been that Innes was just able to get enough stuff on there to grab the objective away, and that would have been, like, a shock tactics, prevent a primary, break up banners, so, like, a 9-point swing, I think, which would have been huge. And it looked like that happened, so pretty good stuff. Innes was playing a pretty spicy Iron Hands list, by the way. It is, for the most part, normal Iron Hand successor stuff. So Whirlwind of Rage, Exploding Sixes in melee, and Master Artisans for the floating hit reroll. A Pride Tech Marine and the Lieutenant. No Box of Spirit among the Lieutenant, but he did take Rights of War, a couple Infiltrators, a Vanguard Veteran unit to Combat Squad, 10 Scouts to Combat Squad into 2 LSTs. A bunch of land speeders to score. It's a moment. Hold the middle. And then 2 Desolation squads. One of them with the Mastercrafted Venger, so the 3 damage Venger launcher. But then the spice is in this repulsor here. So he has got a little bit of vehicle synergy with the Tech Marine, but the Tech Marine's mostly buffing the Relic Contemptor, the Volt Contemptor, obviously, because it's Iron Hands. You basically got to. But the repulsor is cool in the indirect fire mirror match. So you look at enemy armies like Astra Militarum when they're running lots of Earthshaker carriage batteries. You look at like Expert Shots Eldari running Night Spinners. And there's a bunch of these very pointed meta answers for Desolation squads that exist currently. And the repulsor just blanks all of that. The repulsor just keeps the Desolation squads totally safe on the first turn. It's probably like not quite efficient damage for 220 points. It's like good damage, but it's not amazing. But it's not terrible, and it gives you this really, really, really strong sort of fire base and protector for the Desolators early in the game. And it looked like in the matchups where he didn't need it to protect the Desolators, he actually strategic reserved it, and then it would come in off the side alongside. He had a double dev drop squad, so he could really threaten a ton of reserves, either turn 1 with the dev drop and then turn 2 with the repulsor, or like everything in on turn 2 or turn 3. And really, like, I think this army full sent really well, because there were some situations where you could run into where you could be like, well, I'm going to wait till turn 3, and then take no damage, pepper my opponent with indirect fire, and then drop a repulsor, 2 Devastator squads, and then run everything else in the open. And most armies can't kill enough of that before like the Vanguard veterans get to them and the Desolators kill them. So pretty sweet. I really like that technology. So we also had some interesting list in the top 8. Brian Sipe here just played sort of normal stuff. The Master of Shots Swift Strikes is kind of the normal Eldar build right now, so it's ignore light cover, and then you count as stationary when you move, so you can actually battle focus off of advance rolls, which gives you a lot of mobility. And then that one has the Night Spinner, so this is the kind of list that repulsor is trying to protect against. So it has a ton of indirect fire, 2 D-cannon weapon platforms, and a Night Spinner. And then the rest is like sort of utility stuff. Shroud Runners are incredibly good at the Alpha Strike, and they can score behind enemy lines turn 1. Viper, for the same reason, that's going to score behind enemy lines turn 2. And then the Harlequins are where a lot of the damage comes from. You have the Shadow Seer, who is going to put some damage out with Mirror of Minds, the Death Jester, and the Solitaire. The Solitaire obviously good for the melee blitz, but then the Death Jester is good with that favor of Shigarek, so he super Teslas his 6s. He gets 3 additional hits on top of his normal hit on 6s, and one of them, he can auto 6 one of his dice rolls. So if he rolls 1/6 naturally, and then auto 6s the second one, and then hits the third one, he hits you 9 times. Seems fine. And he can shoot characters with that guy. He's like kind of insane. So a lot of it's like you play between the Shroud Runners and the Aspect Warriors, you play sort of a cagey attrition game, and then you're just blasting away with the characters and the indirect fire all game, and then that's what does like most of the actual damage. And then you just throw Harlequin Troopers and stuff at people to keep them off primary. And by the end of the game, you've killed enough that they can't really come back. That list is very, very strong right now. But it is a little fragile. If you lose too much in a turn, it can kind of fall apart very quickly, especially if your transports go down too early. True, playing some Astra Militarum. Not entire. I think that they determined top 8 based on battle points. They must have, right? Because they didn't do it. They didn't do a final table breakdown, and I don't think they did a path to victory, because otherwise I think True would have been number 2. And I think Brian had a draw on his record too. So True is at X and 1, and I don't know if there are many other X and 1s in the top 8 here, but he unfortunately didn't get second place, which was unfortunate. Solitaire died versus Innis, and none out of line of sight Overwatch. Oh my god. Yeah, that's something that certainly can happen on the US Open layouts, because they were using the US Open stuff, which is give those huge bricks of cover. And so if the Desolator squad is all 5 of them on the cover, they benefit from defensible. So their Overwatch is actually really good. You could also optimal repulsion doctrines with them, but I don't know if you necessarily are going to do that. So this is a little bit of a spicy list. There's actually, in fact, no Kazarkin in this list. It's all Tempestus Scions instead. It's 10 units of 10 Tempestus Scions, which is crazy. So I actually think this list is a little bit spicy as well for Astra Militarum. No Kazarkins and no indirect fire either. Not even a single mortar team in this list. We took all direct fire shooting and all Tempestus Scions. So it's 2 melee command squads. So they bring the Ogren Bodyguard in the Kidian command squad, and both of them are upgraded with melee weapons. One of them has Master Tactician for the redeploy. The other one's Frontline Combatant, which is +1 attack and +1 to wound, I think, on the charge. For the officer himself, and then he has the Legacy of Caladius, which is a Teeth of Terra equivalent. Yeah, no flag either. The flag, this was post data slate, so the flag got nerfed pretty heavily. Obviously, it doesn't ignore attack modifiers anymore, only damage modifiers. So it's really good in the Eldar matchup against Phoenix Lords. But if you are not... yeah, which there are only one of in Brian's list, for example. So if you're not... And obviously you have a little bit of melee punch because like those command squads will just take 3 wounds off of Phoenix Lord in melee. So it's not like you have no answer to phase capped stuff. If you see an Abaddon across the table, you can do 3 in shooting, and then kill them with Ogre Bodyguard or whatever. So I think that you don't really need, as long as you have just a smattering of melee, which this list has, you don't really need the banner, the Finial of the Nemerdesh first. I think especially now. And the matchups where you like ignore damage reduction is like what? Like Dreadnought spam, like Carnifexes. There's not a lot of damage reduction going around right now on units that are particularly hard to kill. And especially those units will also not will die to the Tempestus Scions and the 1 damage shooting anyway. Brian went for a turn 1 Jinx on Vanguard Veterans with Scorpions. The Warlock Perils, they got a 3 mortals to blow up. Oh my god. That's insane. That's so unfortunate. That's the danger of those Warlocks over Farseer Skyrunners. The Warlocks are so much cheaper, but the fact that they suffer Perils on 3 wounds is so dangerous. That's super duper crazy. So a bunch of Cadian Shock Trooper units. Sly Marbo, pretty cute guy in there to get boots on the ground. Alongside 3 units of Tempestus Scions with double Plasma Gun, double Hotshot Volley Gun. So they have, like, some of the Kazarkin combo available to them, but obviously they don't have to go all in on it. You can still just spend for mortal wounds with them and give them rerolls, but they don't have Barbican's Key. Mostly they're going to be they're there because they have natural deep strike, and so they force your opponent either to screen, in which case you get to shoot their stuff, which is great because you're playing guard and you love that, or they just give you behind enemy or boots on the ground and then they get to shoot something. So it's for 110 points. It's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't for your opponent. Like either you let these Tempestus Scions do whatever they want, or you give the Rokaldorn something to blow up. And either way, it's not very good for you. There's 9 Sentinels, 1 unit of Scouts, 2 Armored Sentinel units, just to shoot plasma cannons downrange, pretty good stuff. And then 2 Chimeras to hold Shock Troopers and Tempestus Scions in for the most part, and then most importantly, the Rokaldorn. No upgrade. Oh yeah, he has Knight of Piety on the Rokaldorn, so he's going really really tanky with the Rokaldorn. So he's a 5-up against damage, 5-up against mortal wounds, a 5-up in vulnerable save, and then you can also stack like Smokescreen, Ablative Plating, all that stuff on the Rokaldorn defensively. So the whole idea, I think, is that if you have a single unit that you're going to expose to your opponent, it's going to be this Rokaldorn. And there are very few armies in the game that can kill it. It looked like in that finals game, Innis kind of cracked it with the Desolator squads. He fired both Desolation Squads into him, and one of them, I think, missed one attack and then converted all of its wound rolls. So it shot like 4 AP4 crack missiles, wounding on 5s into the Rogaldord, and did like 10 damage or 12 damage or something to it, which was super unfortunate. It must have been at least 12 because that's how math works. But yeah, just a little bit of an overperformance, I think, there. But he had target protocols on them, so he had some floating rerolls, but still pretty impressive shot. I remember in that last game, that thing went down in one go. Yeah. Yeah, the one shot where the entire unit of crack missiles converted was pretty insane. Good stuff, but it is what it is. That can happen if you're relying on a single model to survive for too long, for sure. All right, let's see what else we have to talk about. There's some more Iron Hands, mostly kind of like largely the same thing. Fushini is up there playing Tau Empire. Some Tau Sept, I think normal Tau Sept stuff. I like these new versions of Tau are bringing. And I streamed Tau twice over the weekend, by the way. Go watch my Warhammer Retreat streams if you want to see some sweet 40k. There's actually really good games all weekend. And things went really smoothly. Game 1's a little rough because we had some internet crashes. Unfortunately, the internet at the venue wasn't very good, but we'd fixed that by round 2, and all the other games went great. So we streamed Tau twice, and it's a very similar kind of distribution of units, where Tau is moving from being this really skewy army where you play you basically pick one unit and then play as many of that as you can. Either it's Riptides, or it's Crisis Battlesuits, or it's Riptides and Crisis Battlesuits, or it's Devilfish. There was a Devilfish list last week, I think, that went X and 1 that was like 9 Devilfish. Or Hammerheads, or, the heavy support stuff. And it feels like Tau's moving from that to playing these more combined arms armies that are a little bit more flexible. And that's very much what we have here. Like, we have stealth battlesuits for the forward deploy. You can screen forward deployers out. A Krutox Rider for the Cyberwolf effect. 1 battlesuit team, 2 breacher teams. Only one of them's in a Devilfish. So we could, turn 1 alpha somebody if we want to, but it's not all in. And then a broadside unit, 1 Riptide battlesuit, and a couple characters. The broadside battlesuit unit obviously is super strong right now. As long as we have through boldness victory, which we do, they or will you take advanced targeting? But we're taking stabilized optics, so you can move and shoot these guys without penalty. Long strike points through boldness victory at them. Commander Shadow Sun points full rerolls at them, and they're just hitting on 5s, rerolling everything, 6s to hit, automatically wound, and they ignore light cover. So they ignore part of the. They ignore the worst part of the indirect fire, which is where your opponent's in cover and get +2 to their save. They're still just going to be on their base save because you're AP1, then reducing it for the indirect fire penalty. But it's enough volume with automatic wounds that you can chip damage onto big stuff, and you can even clear out small objective holders. And a lot of these Tau armies are bringing in either AFP crisis or battlesuit commanders, or just a massive smart missiles to peel out small objective holders so that they force their opponent to come to dedicate more expensive stuff to holding those objectives. That's a real danger that Tau has. If their opponent hides the entire game, then it's just sad for them. But as long as they have, now that the battlesuits are eligible to be targeted by all of those effects again, then they're going to be really good. I'm just noticing, unfortunately, chat, that my view screen is all on the side here and nobody can see it. I apologize, everyone. Let's move that. Oh yeah, I skipped right over the double asparagus list chat. I'm sorry. I did talk about that on stream the other day. Yeah, it's a 2 Astraeus. Fuck. I'm sorry, you're right. I might do a video about this list, by the way, chat. I'm not sure yet. I don't know how much people are interested in 9th edition tournament stuff right now. People are kind of, I don't know. We'll see if people watch it. But this is a list after my own heart. I love Astraeus. They're so cool. They're such a cool tank. But yeah, the other Iron Hands list was running a librarian for Psi Steel armor, so you can improve them to a 1+ armor save. We have the Iron Stone, so one of the Astraeus goes has damage reduction. The Relic Contemptor, just because like you kind of have to. Double Scout Squads with Landspeeder Storms for objective holding. 1 Desolator Squad, and then double Astraeus with Plasma. So these things, if you haven't seen the Astraeus, let's take a look at the Astraeus datasheet, by the way, chat. I'm gonna be honest. I thought this listed was lower on the list. I forgot that it got to 4th, and I think that was because of the battle points. I think it went like X and 2. I think it lost a couple games, but still did really well in the tiebreakers. So these things have absolutely ludicrous damage output. They bring 2 Plasma Eradicators. So basically, the gun that's on, or close to the gun that's on the Redemptor Dreadnought. So 2d6, 3 damage blast attacks. They can or they can swap them for Las Rippers, but it's not quite the same. You're losing attacks for higher strength and like higher average damage, but it's a d6 instead of flat 3, so it's less consistent. So I think the Plasma Eradicator is generally the way to go. You can then buy it additional las cannons, and then the big headliner is the macro accelerator cannon. So 12 shot, strength 8, AP2, 3 damage. You can Mercy is weak this thing, so the 6s to hit double. So and then you can buff it with the Tech Marine buff, and it has reroll once to hit built in because it's Iron Hands and it's all heavy weapons. So you're firing like 12 plus 2d6 strength 8 3 damage gunshots plus a pair of las cannon shots probably. So there's very little in the game that survives one of these, and 2 for sure kills it. It's also very difficult. It's relatively difficult to kill in the crackback. It's T8 base 30 wounds with a 2+ save, which is why that Psi Steel armor is so good on it. It was very good with Armor of Contempt. And then it has Void Shield, so a 5+ invulnerable save until you do 2 sets of 3 damage to it. It basically has 2 additional 3 wound models in front of it. Each one of them takes 1 hit, and then or each one of them takes up to 3 damage and then dies. Excess damage is not transferred over. If you don't kill them, they regenerate back to full. If you knock all the shields down, though, they go away forever. So it has a situational invulnerable save, basically. That's on Las Rippers versus Plasma. So, I mean, the Plasma, I think, is better. I think the Plasma is almost always better. I like the Las Rippers just because there's a consistency of profiles, but... and you don't have to roll d6 shots. But d6 shots is much better than 2 shots, because you're almost going to double your shots on average. You average 7 shots with 2d6 plasma shots versus only 4 with the Las Rippers. And the output otherwise is the same. Higher strength on the Las Rippers, but lower AP. Not that it makes a huge difference, because you're like AP 5, but it is what it is. Yeah, so this list is sweet. That's all I have to say about that. And I think right now we're at this, like, people might have overcompensated for Astra Militarum and for Kazrikan bombs, because we're seeing all these Desolation squads, right? And the Desolation squads are very good against light infantry. The Super Crack rockets are, I guess they are specifically good against the Astraeus as well, because they're just rolling a bunch of strength 8 versus toughness 8. But on the flip side, the greatest strength of that unit is their ability to kill infantry behind walls, and this list is basically immune to that. You don't really care about that at all. Plus, as soon as a Desolation squad peeks out of cover, if the Astraeus gets a shot on it, it'll be dead for sure. The downside in the mirror match is that you have to deal with the Relic Contemptor. The Volt Contemptor is kind of lethal to these guys because he's low AP, and he doesn't want to shoot at whatever's Iron Stoned, but he piles mortal wounds on top. And the Cyclone Missile Launcher is really spiky. You have the potential with Merciless Logic to like explode 6 the missile launcher shot, and then you get additional chances to put wounds through the invuln save, which gets a little bit scary, especially with target protocols from the Primaris Tech Marine. You can reroll the damage on the D6 damage shot, and that gets pretty rude as well. What else have we got? There was some Dark Angels. It was kind of normal Dark Angels. Taroxer played Thousand Suns. So fie on everybody who was like, oh, Thousand Suns are unplayable garbage. They're so bad. Which is partially me. I did say that a little bit. But Taroxer here, I think, took that personally and then took Thousand Suns to Warhammer Fest and took top 8. I will mention as well that the top 8 here is a little disingenuous because Warhammer events use the bracket system where they, after round 4, they bracket, or after round 5, I think in this case, they bracketed everyone together. So these are the people who were undefeated after round 5. If these people had gone on to keep losing games, then they could never have gotten below top 16. So they had a little bit of an easier time getting to top 8. Because no one else had the opportunity to get back in. So, like, I think Josie here is, like, an incredible player. She's a T5S2 invitational finalist or semi-finalist. But she did go, like, 6-3, I think, which is not an amazing record, to be fair. Your final pairings in the top bracket are tough because you're up against the other people in the top bracket. But it is a little bit weird that no one else ever has the opportunity to break into top 8 if they didn't win one of the first 5 games. It is what it is. But Taroxer here, we're able to do it with Thousand Suns. Kind of normal Thousand Sun stuff. He does have a Chaos Contemptor, which I kind of like. It's a little cute. Plus 4... I believe it's 4 Warp Flamer squads. Yeah, 4 Warp Flamer rubric squads. 1 brick of Scarabacol Terminator. So not going for the double brick, which I appreciate. I like we're back to the big Chaos Spawn unit, too. It's been a while since we've seen the big Chaos Spawn unit. That thing has been out of play for a long time. Man, Thousand Suns Chaos Spawn are 21 points right now. That's insane. Compare that thing to an Intercessor, right? Like, Intercessors for the longest time were 20. Are you serious right now? 21 for a Chaos Spawn? Holy shit. They do get a little bit of a points break because they don't have the Chaos Space Marine Chaos Spawn mechanic, so they don't have the auto heal if you don't kill them with an attack. But they otherwise are pretty effective, especially with the Thousand Sun stratagem to pick their mutation when they get into melee. So the big benefit there is that you can double move them with Temporal Surge, and then you can drop all of the defensive buffs on them. So the turn that you don't want to expose the Scarabacol Terminators or any of the Warp Flamer units, you could just double move a Chaos Spawn unit into the middle of the table. And especially because you're on US open terrain, a double move from Chaos Spawn threatens basically past any objective in the center. So they can go in and just murder whatever's in the center of the table for at least one turn and then be extremely tanky on the swing back. So your opponent probably has to go in, shoot them, and then charge them and kill them, which is like a dramatic overcommittal for something that costs you 100 points. And then your Scarabacol Terminators go in, they get all the buffs, and then they start like wreaking havoc in the center. Then we also have a Tzeentch Patrol. I think these are largely... We have like a little bit of backline objective holding from them. The Blue Horrors are pretty good for that. They're just a cheap unit that Thousand Suns doesn't have great access to. The Fate Skimmers, like here to he's like down to clown. He's here to just blow people up with Bolt of Change and Infernal Gateway because he's upgraded with the Retinue. So he's +1 to cast with Bolt of Change plus Infernal Gateway. He can hide behind any of the pretty tough Thousand Suns units. He also has the Staff, so he has a pretty solid shooting attack as well. I think 3 shots at 2 damage. And then the Screamers are mostly in here to score behind enemy lines. So in a situation where it's possible, this list is, and your opponent can't score particularly well, this list is going to try to Sorceress Facade. And do we have an Umbralific Crystal as well? No. But it's going to try to Sorceress Facade these units, plus the Screamers get a free teleport once per game, and then you can jump rubric units and stuff into your opponent's deployment zone to get the secondary. The Flamers might just always like get there as well. They're also a fast move infantry unit, so they're good for banners and actions and stuff like that, which is not something that Thousand Suns usually has, so that's actually beneficial. Otherwise, you're taking like the disc guys, which is not. Although I think they might even be cavalry. The Enlightened, Zangor Enlightened. I think discs make you cavalry, so that's not they're not even good at doing actions. Yeah, they're discs. They're cavalry. Yeah, so flamers are good at just as a utility unit in that case. Give you a little bit of clearing as well. Cool. And then we can talk about Josie's list. Josie's list is super spicy. Josie loves playing super spicy Necron lists. She's an absolute powerhouse with Necrons. All right, let's break down this weirdness. So 3 Canoptic Plasmacytes to go with the Locust Destroyers and Scorpic Destroyers. The Plasmacytes are pretty sweet. Even if you're not using them to buff Scorpic units, as long as they're within 6 inches of a Scorpic unit, or I think 3 inches of a Scorpic unit, they basically get character protection. So there are situations where you can place them in very aggressive positions and use them to hold objectives. And for 15 points, that's super useful. You can also use them as long as they stick with the Scorpex, because if they move out of range of destroyers, out of 6 inches, they do die at the end of the turn. But you can also use them to like move up and contest and just be like super obnoxious. It's very much Cyberwolf energy. Taking a single model for 15 points is usually pretty good. They do have some restrictions, but also in some cases they can't be shot at, and that's pretty solid. The Cryptotrolls as well protect the Chronomancer, so that's good. Do they protect Ceres as well? Does he have is he a Cryptech keyword? Because he is a Technomancer, right? I think they do. Yeah. So I think Cryptotrolls would also bodyguard for that guy too, so that's pretty sweet. We're running 1 Catan shard, so just shard of the Nightbringer. No, Josie loves her Catan shards. 1 Hexmark Destroyer. A bunch of Scorpic Destroyers. 1 unit of Scarabs, 1 unit of Tomb Blades. It's mostly for secondary objectives. You can run those guys out and do like Ancient Machineries and score the middle of the table. We also have the big, there's a big Flayed One unit. So we are in Novak today. So we have I think it's called Blood Rights is the name of the stratagem. It's 1 CP for +1 attack to any of these units. So the Lich Guard can get access to +1 attack when they're near a Lord. So standing next to Anrakir, they can get +1 attack. Then you can stack that with the +1 attack from the Novak stratagem. So they can be +2 attacks. The Scorpic Destroyers will get the bonus from the Plasmacyte. And then you can also stack that with the Novak stratagem. So as long as those guys can connect, they do ridiculous damage. And the Flayed Ones similarly get +1 attack and then get exploding 6s on top of that. So the Flayed Ones do sort of an insane amount of damage, unexpected damage. And Novak, I believe the other benefit is +1 strength in the charge. I'm just going to double check that. So a lot of that stuff is going to like strength 5, strength 8. Ugh. Got something in my throat, chat. I apologize. Oh, excuse me. +1 2 charge. And +1 AP is what they get. And then they can get +1 strength thanks to Protocol of the Hungry Void, which is their preferred protocol. So they get both +1 strength once per game and rending +1 AP on 6s to wound. And then a monolith, and interestingly, a convergence of dominion. So this is the fortification for Necrons. And I believe what Josie was doing with this, which is very creative, is using the translocation protocol. So you have a Cryptech unit, which is both the Chronomancer and Illuminor Ceres. Either of them can do this action which completes at the end of your turn, puts a one of the 3 star steels, the convergence big monoliths, into reserve and then deep strikes it next turn. So what you're trying to do is use them to score behind enemy lines. Obviously, fortifications normally can't deploy in your opponent's deployment zone, but they can if you teleport them. So she's basically trying to get them into odd places in the table to score maneuver secondaries to shore up the Necron secondary game, which is, I think, super cute. These things are also just like kind of efficient wounds. They're probably one of the most efficient defensive profiles for cost, right? They're 30 wounds for 80 points. So they're, I think otherwise scarabs are the best wound per point, right? Which is about, they're 4 wounds for like 10 point or 11 points or whatever. So, but these are less than 1 point per wound at toughness 8 with a 3+ save. So they're actually really obnoxiously hard to kill. Not so much that they're like impossible. Your opponent can kill them, but any shooting that they fire into the convergence and not this monolith, for example, I think Josie's just going to be super duper happy with. They also have like a little bit of a gun. It's only a 12-inch range, but it is 3 damage, so that's pretty useful. So it's just as long as you can get those secondaries with it, these units are actually pretty cute. I like that technology. Nightbringer good now that the flag is gone? Yeah, that's fair. Oh, Anrakir also gives +1 attack. Oh yeah, he's the Lord of the Furian Legions. How could I have forgotten? Look at that guy. Lord of the Furian Legion. What a silly goose. Yeah, so you can stack +3 attacks onto any of those units. Not the flayed ones, right? They get +2. But the Scorpax, the Lich Guard, you can get +3 attacks on either of them. So their damage output's like sort of ludicrous. And potentially +1 strength and +1 AP. Or +2 AP even. +1 AP on the charge for the Novak dynastic trait. And then +1 rending if you're in Hungry Void. Pretty good. Pretty good. Too bad they're not vehicles. The Convergence? Is the Convergence not vehicle keyworded? I believe it is, because it gets core. It's definitely a vehicle, chat. Oh yeah, you could disruption fields them. Yeah, I mean, whatever. That disruption fields is very narrow use case. I guess it depends on like where your damage output's at. I guess like Scorpex start at strength 6, right? Strength 5 or strength 5, yeah. So they're 4 attack, strength 5. You can Novak strat, Furian Legion, Plasmacite's +1 strength and attack, right? Where are you at, buddy? +1 strength and attack. Yeah, so it could go to strength 6. I guess you could get to 8 with the Scorpic Destroyers with the strat. So there are a lot of situations that's +1 to wound for 1 CP, so that's probably worth it. Yeah, that's fine. You get the Reap Blade to strength 9. Ooh, spicy. Ceres buffs on the convergence. Yeah, I think they do split, I believe. So he has to buff each convergence individually, which is probably not worth your time. They are not, to my knowledge, a single unit. They split. They deploy within 12 and then they split off. So he would have to go to each one and be like +1 ballistic skill or whatever. So you're probably doing it on the Lich Guard and the Scorpex and the Locust Destroyers. Most likely the Locust Destroyers first. I bet that's the #1 target. That is cute. You can buff them though. And I know, like, I mean, there's all the funny core interactions like work for these guys. Like, they get rerolls from the Silent King and all that stuff. You can like my will be done them so that their D3 shots hit on 2s. I'm sure every once in a while that comes into play. Pretty adorable. So yeah, I like that technology. Definitely one of the more creative uses of a fortification that we've seen in a really long time. Oh, Monolith for Sarah's buffs. Oh yeah, that's probably the number one, right? Oh no. What does his buff chart look like? Toughness, ballistic skill, strength. And the Monolith, the Eternity Gate is based on the Monolith's characteristic, right? Yeah, it's strength as user. So increase you could give it +1 strength, +1 toughness is fucking nuts. And then you could also give it +1 ballistic skill, which is also kind of nuts. Yeah, that's good. Strength is the worst one, but still like actually relevant. Yeah, that's very cute. Yeah, this list is cool. There's just like that's what's cool about the lack, like basically the lack of core keyword in Necrons. They have the core keyword, but it's because everything has the core keyword basically. You get all these like cool synergies where you start doing wacky stuff. And that's what's fun about it. It looks like core is mostly being removed in 10th edition. Actually, almost entirely, right? I don't think we've actually seen anything have like a core restriction or a core keyword. So hopefully we get these like cool interactions in 10th edition. I'm actually the reveals are getting me more and more excited about list construction in that edition, so it should be fun. That's super cool. I love that. Some interesting Space Marine lists to talk about. Tau tipping. This is a relatively large event. I think this is like a 70-player event or something. Won by Salamanders with Brayarth Ashmantle. Hell yeah, dude. A man after my own heart over here. The Salamanders character Dreadnought. We can take a look at that guy. He has a phenomenal flamer profile, which fortunately he's a little bit funny because he has basically two flamer profiles. He has Burning Wrath and then the Dreadfire Heavy Flamer. Burning Wrath does not have the flamer name, so it's not actually a flamer attack, even though it is just a short-range flamer weapon, which is kind of annoying because it doesn't get any of the synergies that Salamanders have with flamers. But the Dreadfire Heavy Flamer does because it says flamer right there. So he has two D6 shot AP 2 damage weapons, and because you're Salamanders and you want to sit in Tactical Doctrine all game, they're actually going to be AP 3 and a +1 to wound. So this dude actually just like cooks vehicles alive. He also is a 4 damage melee weapon with 7 attacks in the charge. He's like weapon skill 2. He's a Dreadnought, so you can 1 CP give him the aura of rerolls, which affects himself. Oh, actually, I don't think it does, no, because he's not core keyworded. Just kidding. But you can give it to him, I guess. But you could Chapter Master him. The real technology is you take him next to Vulcan Heston, and Vulcan can give rerolls to flamer weapons, and you can give it to Brayarth, and his Dreadfires go absolutely nuts. So that's cute. We got a Chaplain in there with Never Give Up, which I believe is the targeted OBSEC. You pick a core unit, you give it OBSEC. Plus Wive Orator. Tactical Squads, Multi-Meltas, love that. A ton of Sternguard Veteran Squads, Combi Flamers, Combi Meltas, Multi-Meltas on them. These are adorable. In Rhinos! Rhinos, chat! Unironically playing Rhinos in this list. This list is fucking rad. So 3 units of Sternguard Veterans in Rhinos. 110 model Terminator Assault Squad. Plus a standard assault squad for just toting around flamers, a multi-melta land speeder, 3 rhinos, and a Hunter of Beasts Armiger Helverin team. What goes in these rhinos, do you think, chat? I guess you mix and match Stern Guard veterans plus tactical marines, however you want. And then they rock up the table alongside Brayarth Ashmantle, maybe standing behind or in front of 10 Terminators. What a sick list. That list is super cool. We also see some Ultramarines at 5-0. Says a Seal of Oath, Adept of the Codex Tech Marine, 3 Infiltrator Squads, 3 Relic Contemptors, a Redemptor, and 3 Desolator Squads plus Gilliman. Ah, that one's okay. It's mostly the Desolation Squad show. The Desolation Squads I can see alongside the Primaris Tech Marine going absolutely ham with Seal of Oath. Just full rerolling against something and firing like 1,000 shots at it. And the same with the Relic Contemptors too. It's kind of a fun list. I did see Winter Warfest here had an interesting Nurgle list at 5-0. This one was rocking... it was just a Death Guard in the HQ slot, but then some Plague Marines, 3 Flooded Bloat Drones, 3 Plague Burst Crawlers, and then a Demon Patrol with double Soul Grinders and a Plague Bearer unit. So really just like forcing through this like T8, T9 skew. The Nurgle Soul Grinders get +1 toughness, so they go to T9. Mammon has somehow survived with his aura of reroll 1s for any Nurgle demon. So he affects not only the Codex Nurgle demons, including Soul Grinders. Doesn't require a core keyword, it's anything. So it works on Soul Grinders, it works on Great Unclean ones, it works on whatever. But he can also affect the Plague Burst Crawlers with that. So he also gives them reroll 1s to hit. So you just make this big... Like, you have a bunch of... a ton of utility between Plague Marines and Plague Bearers and Nurglings. Bloat Drones for heroically intervening offside objectives. But then the center of the list is this core of like rerolling 1s, Plague Burst Crawlers and Soul Grinders, just all this T9 idiots. Pretty friggin' sweet. That was a very that is a super unique take on Nurgle demons. A lot of times we see Nurgle demons as like the T9 skew, but I like the transition to like Nurgle, mixed Nurgle, basically. We also got some Chaos Demons list going on. Jack Tight, this is Skouki. He's T5S2 season champion, season 2. With Be'lakor, a Changecaster, a Tormbringer on Hellfire. We are in Disciples of Be'lakor, in fact, so that's sweet. Yeah, sick Nurgle list, chat, for sure. Super cool. Running 1 Bloodletter unit, double Nurglings. The Nurglings do get objective secured in Disciples of Be'lakor, which is cool. The big beast of Nurgle unit. These guys are for the synergy with the Disciples of Be'lakor stratagem that regenerates units when enemies fail morale checks near them. So the Beast of Nurgle can come back at 1 wound and then heal to full. It's a little tough to pull off, but Beasts of Nurgle are a good enough unit that you're probably going to take them anyway, and the extra synergy is definitely worth it. 3 units of Fiends, 2 units of Flamers, 2 units of Fleshhounds, and the War Dog, the House Corvex Brigand unit. Cool. Good stuff. See another variety of Chaos Demons here. This one just undivided, running Be'lakor. This one, we're back to triple Flamers, chat. Whoa! Blast from the past. 3 Flamers, 3x5, so 15 Flamers. Some Fiends, 2 Exalted Flamers. Okay. Plus Plague Bearers, Pink Horrors, not blues, the full-blooded pinks. A Demonette unit, Scarbranding Be'lakor. Dropped a game with this one, unfortunately, but that's a fun one. Played against, but he ran the Bloodthirster instead of the Knights. Well, that drops out of Disciples of Be'lakor if you cut the Knights, or if you add a Greater Demon. That doesn't seem very good, to be honest. Bloodthirsters, I mean, Bloodthirsters are always good. But it's a very different list, I think, if you take the second Greater Demon, because you're much more incentivized to push into like the big heavy demon skew, with like Be'lakor, the phase cap guy, like a Lord of Change potentially. You can't do any of that in Disciples. You get a much bigger toolbox, but your only Greater Demon is Be'lakor. So Warhammer Retreat, this is the one I streamed over this weekend. A little bit of an interesting one. They actually had a pair down lose early in the game, so we actually had no X and O's, which is weird. So while we did have Leagues of Votann win the finals game, that left no undefeated players, and so Astra Militarum actually took it. This is sort of normal Astra Militarum list, though. It did run Ursula Creed, which is kind of fun. But then double Khazarkin, bunch of Happy Weapon teams. 2 Rogaldorns. Normal stuff. We have some Adepta Sororitas. This is a little different, I think, as well. We're in Valorous Heart, which is, I believe, back to AP reduction. Once Armor of Contempt got added, they went to preventing wound rerolls, which was really, really annoying to deal with. But I think now that Armor of Contempt has been removed, they're back to their original benefits. Yeah, so a 5+ against mortals, ignore AP 1 or 2, which is a little bit boring. But we're rocking Secresants with this one, taking 30 of them, or 29, I guess, alongside that AP reduction. It's all 3 sanctified characters, so Celestina, the Gemini Superior, Ephrael Stern, and Kaiganil, and Morvenval. We got the 1 Acolyte. Love this little guy. I think taking 2 Acolytes. Yeah, we have a auxiliary support detachment. That's what that new Inquisition box is for Kill Team. It's for making those 2 Acolytes out of. There's also Crusaders. I bet you could make Crusaders out of that kit, too. So that's really a good one for Adeptus Sororitas players. The Dogmata, 2 Dogmatas, in fact. One with Refrain of Blazing Piety, so we can deal with phase caps by clipping people for mortal wounds out of phase. 3 Zephyrim squads, 2 of 10, 1 of 5, and 2 Retributor squads. Oh, big Retributor squads. I'm surprised not to see a Hospitaller here. That might be a little bit of a concession to the Desolators, because you have a lot of you're giving up blast, but you have a lot of extra bodies. I guess you ignore AP1 and AP2, so Desolators never affect your armor saves. So you're actually saving on 2s if you're in cover out of line of sight. So that they're actually extremely resilient to indirect fire in Valorous Heart. That's interesting. I bet that's why we took this list. I think everyone's rocking anti-light infantry to kill Aldari and to kill Astra Militarum, and this list is basically immune to stuff that would normally kill T3 sisters. Like, you have Secresants that are on a base 2+, ignore AP1 and AP2. You have Retributors that are on a 3+, but in cover, so probably on a 2+, and then the Zephyrim probably just come out of Deep Strike. That's like a cool meta. That's a cool, like, meta pick, I think. And then, obviously, the Sanctified characters are ludicrous. They're so good. Damage output out of the other stuff's a little bit light outside of Bloody Rose. But if the survivability is worth it, then so be it. Cool, it's cool. That's a cool list. And then I think we have TJ Lanigan over here as the last one. A little bit of a smaller event. Playing pure Tzeentch. Oh, yeah. I love the Tzeentch gun lines, chat. We didn't go so far as to take Burning Chariots, but we were close. So, it's Be'lakor with no teleport. That's a mood. Jeez, okay. A Fluxmaster. So no teleport and no chariot guy. What is he called? I forget. But the Flexmaster is the little foot guy. Or I guess the Flexmaster is the disc guy? Is that right? How am I, like, blanking so hard on this one? It's the Fate Skimmer is the chariot guy. The Fluxmaster is the disc guy. So interestingly, he's basically the same as the Fate Skimmer. He's not good in melee like the Fate Skimmer is, but he's kind of tanky. He's like 6 wounds with a 3+ demonic invulnerability against guns. But he doesn't get the upgrade for +1 to hit. He can just take the staff, the gun. He gets one of the 2 upgrades that Fate Skimmers get. Or one of the 3, I guess, because the Fate Skimmer also can take the minus cast aura. But the benefit of the Fate Skimmer is that you're compounding cast buffs between the Retinue of Horrors and the Tzeentch Warp Storm +1 to cast, which gives you like an exponentially greater effect on psychic tests. But if we're just rolling up like low cast stuff and we're spending all of our points on +1 to cast every turn, then it's fine. And then a Lord of Change. Actually, you might be spending all your points on buffing the Flamers, to be fair, to 2+ ballistic skill. Lord of Change with Master Mutator, so additional mortal wounds. And then a ton of Obsec. So it's blues, which are not base Obsec, but the pinks are, so 20 pink horrors. A lot of times you see Tzeentchian gun lines and they'd have no Obsec. There's no pink horrors at all. And that gets a little bit dicey, but I like the 20 pinks. That's a good include. And then 18 Flamers, 3 Exalted Flamers, 1 unit of Screamers for behind enemy lines. A little bit sad that we don't have Shadow Step on Be'lakor, because that reinforces that behind enemy lines play a little bit more. Obviously, you can Demonic Manifest in the backline, but it's a little bit tougher. Being able to just like send blue horrors into the backline is a super, super big deal. You can also teleport the Lord of Change back there, I guess, if your opponent lets you, which is kind of fun, but that kind of requires your opponent to give you a big space, and that's a little bit less consistent. The Sororitas list needs a Hospitaller. Yeah, I'm interested that this list, it feels like it wants a Hospitaller for the Retributors. Because you do the thing where you expose the Melter Retributors, you fire them, and then on the return fire, you just pull them and heal them with the Hospitaller and do it again. Between them and the Sacrosants, you have so many good targets to regenerate unit models into. It's weird that there's not a Hospitaller in this list. Is it like low on CP? Oh, I guess it's like low on CP. Maybe there's just not enough command points to use it. Is it? I only see 3 spend. Maybe it's the readout's wrong. I don't know. Maybe they didn't put CP in here. I bet it starts at 3. Yeah, that should be fine. Sisters kind of have a lot of CP to spend a lot of times anyway. I don't know. Seems fine. Drew built a tile list with Borkhan and the broadside combo. Hell yeah. Yeah, the broadside combo is good with Borkhan. It's better. I think it has like special. You also get extended range on the smart missile systems, which is kind of a big deal too. The benefit of playing in Tau Sept is that you have long strikes, so you have a platform for through boldness victory already. But if you're taking advanced targeting systems on them, it shouldn't make a much of a difference. Not advanced targeting systems. What's the auto wounding shot for broadsides? What's it called? I think I called it ATS earlier. But ATS is ignore cover, right? Let's look. Oh no, it is ATS. Just kidding. What's ignore cover? Oh, target lock. That's the one. Yeah, so if you want to give up the stabilized optics, you can take advanced targeting system. But the problem is that a lot of times you lock yourself into calling Monka in order to get the move and shoot without penalty. And Cao Yan is generally speaking more effective. So it's kind of 6 of one, half of the other. If you have another character who can give them through boldest victory, sometimes you just have an extra warlord trade slot on a commander or something, and then it's fine. But you really want that auto wounding, I think, for that unit. Through boldest victories on the oh yeah, that works. That guy usually has an open warlord trait. He's just sitting there with his humble stick, giving you +1 CP. More CP. All right, chat. Well, I think we're gonna call that one for today. We talked about some announcements from Warhammer Fest. We talked about the results of Warhammer Fest. We went through a bunch of interesting lists, some really cool lists, both from Warhammer Fest and from elsewhere in the weekend. I think the position we're in 40k right now, not only did they get us to a point where Arcs of Open 40k is actually in a really good spot competitively. There are some factions that are like a little overtuned. I think like Space Marines. Space Marines are probably fine now. They're like a little above average just because of their damage output. But now that they can't just like sit back on Devastator Doctrine and win through Codex Warfare all game, they're fine. Astra Militarum scores too easily still, I think. They probably just need a tone down of Inflexible Command, and then I think they'll be in a good spot. But other than that, like every faction's right around the middle of the field. Deathwatch, like Thousand Suns, Heretic Astartes need like a little bit of a bump, but otherwise I think they're fine. But people are just like, between that and the addition rounding out, people are just like playing all sorts of stuff. And I think the creativity that when people don't feel like there's as much to play for, the creativity they come out with is super cool. And I've been having a great time playing Arcs of Omen with just like random Tyranid lists that I've been enjoying. So yeah, it's been good. Arcs is fun as long as you can run Desolators. I don't know. I think you can get by just fine without Desolators. I don't think Desolators are required at all. There's not an obvious best in slot for Tau, so you get a mixed army. Yeah, right? Like, that's so cool. That is a downside for Desolators, I think. Like, you are going to take them. I don't think it's, like, required for you to win with them, but you are going to take them anyway. But the factions that have, like, a wide-open roster right now are really cool. Like, playing Tyranids right now is super fun because the top, like, the upper crust of Tyranids got nerfed enough that you don't play, like, Leviathan, like, Warrior Spam, all the tanky builds anymore. And so you kind of just play, like, a bunch of random garbage and make it work, and it's really sort of an interesting place. So anyway, that's going to be it for me today, everybody. Thanks for coming and tuning in. I hope you watched my Warhammer retreat coverage over the weekend. If you didn't, please go check out those VODs because I think the games came out really well, and I appreciate everyone who hung out with me all weekend. I don't have anything scheduled tomorrow, but what I may do is if we get a Tyranid faction breakdown on Warhammer Community, I may stream in the morning some first impressions. So if you are interested in that, please stay tuned to the channel. It'll probably be a little bit of an impromptu thing. It'll be on this channel. And yeah, so I don't know. It should be fun. Then Thursday afternoon, I'm playing against Dutes. We're playing in the T5S2 GT, which is open lists. I don't know what I'm going to play against. I don't know what he's playing. We're going to find out day of. It's going to be fun. And that's going to be, I believe, 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern is when that's scheduled. And then we have Friday morning, 9 a.m. U.S. Eastern, over on the Twitch. We have a pod finals as well. So lots going on over on Twitchies the rest of the week. I may be live tomorrow here. I'm not sure yet, but I hope to see everybody there. Johnny bringing mishmash monster builds to an RTT this weekend using OBSEC monsters. Dude, that list is fun as hell. I'm exactly one IRL tournament loss with OBSEC Screamer Killers in in-person events right now. And that loss was pre-nerf Astra Militarum, so I don't feel bad about it. But yeah, that list is super fun. I love that list. We're on Tyrant Guard right now, too. I lost one game with Tyrant Guard to World Eaters. I think I could have won it, but I lost it a couple weeks ago. I might be playing them this weekend. I'm playing in an RTT this weekend. I don't know what to take. I might take Leviathan Gunline, too. Leviathan Gunline's kind of fun. It doesn't score very well, but it shoots really hard, so that's cool. Who knows? I haven't decided. We'll figure it out. Anyway, that's going to be it for me today, everybody. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I also have the videos that came out today about the Space Marine stuff, so go check those out. And I'll have more throughout the rest of the week as more articles keep coming out. So keep staying tuned to the channel. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you later.